time for another round of Brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand with your hosts, Reilly Newman and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
Have you ever experienced something that didn't meet your expectations, or you went into something with very low expectations and then were delightfully surprised?
Yeah, that's always a fun thing.
That's always the winner.
You know what I mean? To start it off, it kind of gets to the core of how we are wired as human beings. We have an innate sense of either fight or flight. We know that. Our brains are able to navigate that landscape of fight or flight based on our experiences. If I reach into a flame and burn my hand, experience is going to dictate that I'm going to avoid that next time. I had a bad experience, therefore I'm going to naturally flee and not repeat that. If I go in for the first time and pet a puppy and enjoy it, then I'm going to, next time I have that, my experience is dictating I want to do that again.
Yeah, and in both those instances, you do have, so you touch something hot, right? And it burns you. Your body goes, no, pull away, pain, pain, pain. You pet a dog, your body releases oxytocin, and you have all these positive emotions with it. It's soft, the feeling of it's nice, but your body's actually releasing chemicals that's telling you more of this. This is good. This is a good thing.
Right.
And the same thing happens with, even when, like we were saying, if you go to a restaurant and you have high expectations and then you're let down by the service or the quality of the food or just doesn't live up to those expectations, is that your body does give you signals. And that's what's kind of crazy about it, is that even your body's always trying to reevaluate based off of your expectations going into the experience, and then the experience itself, and your body needs to go, okay, I need to recalibrate what is my relation, and reframe that, and then get it as accurate as possible. Because your body, your brain, you're wanting consistency. You're wanting to be not surprised because, unknown elements, unknown variables, that's a threat.
There's a reason you brought up restaurants. There's a reason we frequent our favorite restaurants. There's a reason you go there, because every time you go, you have an expectation of the food, the service, the price, whatever, and it's consistent, and it reinforces and validates your connection to that restaurant, that brand. Take an artichoke. Do you like artichokes?
I love artichokes.
Artichokes is an interesting thing if you think about it, because I've always wondered, like, there's spiky leaves, there appears to be nothing to eat, right? Yeah, and the first time, you always think back to the first man that came across an artichoke and said, I'm going to cook this, I'm going to eat it, right? Or to someone that has served an artichoke and has no idea how to eat it. And so that can taint their experience. And then even if they're able to get down into the fleshy part of the leaves, if it was undercooked, it's going to be tough.
It's stuck in your teeth.
Right? So there's people that can try an artichoke for the first time, maybe eating out with friends and giving it a try. And depending on the quality of that artichoke, depending on the nature of that artichoke, that dictates their experience. And therefore, are they going to be likely to return and eat another artichoke next time they're offered? Probably not. It's the same thing with brands set up. They signal expectations, really.
Right. So if you've got, spiky leaves on your brand, it's going to be less appetizing to people. They're not going to approach it if it doesn't look edible. And that's what the whole thing is. Like, people eat with their eyes first. And the same thing goes for your brand, is like, if they're not being drawn to it in some way, if you're not signaling to them, if they've never experienced you, then how would they ever know that if they just give it a shot in the right conditions, when they get down to the heart of the artichoke, and they're actually able to experience it to its fullness, then you got to first get them in the door to try it. And the same thing with, I feel like this happens to me a lot with like Netflix, where there'll be something where the movie looks kind of like, I don't know about this, but we'll just turn it on because we're bored or whatever. And we'll start watching it, and then it'll be like a home run. And that always happens to me. And it's really because like my expectations are so low, especially with some of this content that's just like trash. And then we go in and it's actually like really funny or really well written. Yeah. And then we enjoy it so much, and it's, becomes one of our favorites. And I feel like it's just like when you do think of your brand being able to more accurately signal and really purposely trying to signal certain things to a specific type of consumer or buyer or client, then that experience can be that much more rewarding for them, and it sets you up to really serve them the best way possible.
Yeah. The easiest way to think about it is that brand signals expectations and business dictates experience. So basically what that's meaning is you're signaling is how the brand to the new consumer, what to expect from the brand. But unfortunately, you can't just look good. You can't just sound good. You can't just have a slick website and we've got a great looking logo and all this stuff and we look really professional, but then the business side is what's dictating the experience. And if that falls short of the expectation, that's not a good thing. Now, you brought up if you have an under average brand, if it's just an okay brand. It's not great, right? Visual. It's signaling lower expectations based on the quality of if the logo just looks amateurish or whatever it is. If it's not well put together on the outside, it's signaling a lower expectation. Now, if the business exceeds that, that's a good thing. So, okay, then everyone's argument is, well, I don't need to rebrand. I don't need to focus on my visual as much because I'll just make sure the business exceeds whatever low expectations the customer has from the brand signaling.
Yeah.
Right?
I think this is some people's approach to dating as well, where they'll just, they don't want to put in the effort. They don't want to dress up, shave a bit or whatever. And oh no, once they meet me though, once she talks to me, she'll figure out I'm a good guy. Like I'm nice to talk to and I'm funny. And it's like, well, you're never going to get that opportunity if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not cleaning yourself up, going to the gym, reading books, doing these things and putting yourself out there so that you can then have the opportunity to then prove through experience that, hey, I'm fun to talk to. I'm a great person and yada, yada, yada.
The downside is that as a brand, you're also having to be viable in a very competitive market space. And so you are visually competing. So you're banking on people coming and engaging with your brand for the first time with no expectations, but you're banking on them engaging with your brand. And if your brand doesn't look on par, then they're going to pass you up for the guys that do.
Right. And then what people don't realize too is that whenever we do have these differences, so if you have an expectation, the expectation isn't met, whether that's a positive or a negative, is that it creates cognitive dissonance. And that means there's a gap in what you thought. And this can be good, but also it can be very bad because now that frustration, like when you go to that restaurant, high expectations or even just normal expectations and they drop the ball on everything and you're just like, that was a horrible experience. I didn't want to pay my bill. Then that cognitive dissonance that between what you receive versus what you expected is really, really painful for your brain because your brain's going, okay, I have to signal back to my body and myself to not do that again, right? And going back to the flame example, is that with that, at least you have pain, physical pain, that is telling you don't touch the fire, don't touch the oven, the stove. And with here, your body is going to signal very harshly to you, like, do not go back to this restaurant ever again. Don't trust anything else. That perception you had is trash. Throw it out and reevaluate your relationship now and then set it in stone so we don't make this mistake again. Because your body, like your brain isn't so much trying to always succeed and get things right, but it's trying to eliminate and subtract as many failures as possible. So it's a learning machine. So whenever it gets a negative feedback loop, it's going to remember that and really try to lock that down. So then your restaurant will never get that chance again to make it up to them.
We rely on some of the things like our culture, our background, our social spheres, right? Birds of a feather flock together. So the people that, like, how many times, Reilly, do you get like a movie recommendation from a friend? Or you're like, oh, you know what? We were thinking about going to that restaurant, but I've had a couple friends that didn't like it. Or or, oh my gosh, this person bought this guy got this Remarkable tablet. Now I need to buy, whatever it is.
I swear we're not sponsored by Remarkable.
I know. We truly are ad free and we don't get paid a cent for doing this. It's
just a great product.
Yeah. We stand by products. But anyway, in a sense, I guess what I'm saying is that though you may not have any experience with that brand or that whatever it is, that product, we also, part of our sphere of experience is that of those around us.
It's kind of chicken or the egg when it comes to your business. If you've never interacted with someone, then how can they ever experience you? And so then you need to signal out and go, hey, trust us, give us a chance, and we'll meet and exceed your expectations that we're obviously signaling to you with our great looking brand, with some awesome messaging, photography, all these things that are going to speak to them. And then on top of that, like Scott's saying, on the social side of it, you do have I think of it almost like loans, where you have people who have experienced your company before and they have trust with you, they have great experience. So then they're able to kind of lend that out and lend out that trust and kind of give it to someone where they're going to go, okay, like if Scott and I have similar movie and like TV preferences. So if Scott gives me like a title, I can like kind of go, okay, there's a good chance that I'll enjoy it. There's other people I know where I've received recommendations from them, and I don't know what they watch. Like it's very not my vibe, and so I've had to learn that. But in both situations, you are gifted this little token of trust based off the experience they had, and they're able to then lend that out to friends who then give your brand a try. So not kind of discounting your past customers as well, because what they go on to do, and that's what we talked about in the grassroots episode, is like it's this word of mouth, and it actually is very strong once it starts growing and creates a very good like mesh kind of system for your brand. But going back to okay, how do you first get that experience if they haven't experienced you before? It's like a catch-22 almost.
Yeah. And following through. I mean, the best solution is for any business to have a great brand that is signaling the proper expectations, right? And then you have a business that is following up with the other side of the equation, and matching that through what it offers, how it offers, the value the offer has to the customer, maybe the distinction they bring from other sources for that good or service.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's a matter of we live with and engage with experiences and expectations. And how is your brand doing that? Where's it on the scale?
Yeah. And as humans, like as you get older, they kind of always break it up like this, where, in your 20s, 30s, you're in experience mode. You're looking for new experiences. You travel, you do all these different things. You try out new restaurants, you try different beverages, different foods. And then as you get older, you lean more into exploiting. So you gain wisdom into going, okay, hey, this is more, I enjoy this kind of thing. I enjoy this type of car. I enjoy this type of travel. And so then you lean heavier into that. What? Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I'm thinking, and then when you become my age, you just get stubborn and you become a stubborn old man. I'm stuck in my ways.
This is what I'm doing, and I don't care what you think. But it's you start exploiting things because you go, no, I learned my lesson. It's kind of like this whole thing where your brain tells you, yeah, don't touch the hot stove, right? Or pet the dog. You like that. And so then you learn those things. You go, yeah, I want to pet more dogs because now I'm going to exploit that because it gives me oxytocin, and I love dogs.
Riley's just running around all downtown trying to find any dog you can just to go up and pet
I do have a weird habit of taking pictures. I've realized this when I look at my camera roll. Whenever I do meet a dog, I'll take a picture of it. So I have all.
Do you remember it?
I don't know, or I just I like their mugs. I like the mug shot where it's like this.
The mug shot.
And so what I was saying is that, as you get older, you do expect that. And that's a common thread with all experiences. And on a more micro scale is like, that when you do find a great restaurant and it's like a great date spot or something, and you go, okay, you kind of bookmark it in your mind, and then you exploit that and going, okay, I know I can count on that place for a great date night. Yeah. And it becomes in that list, right? In that category of, this is a great place to, whatever, when my family's in town, I can take them here, or when it's date night, we can go out here. And you're able to now exploit that experience.
Yeah. I think the thing for me is like a new consumer or anything new is the ability to rely on referrals. You're always going to be finding people asking friends or groups like Facebook groups, that you belong to. Let's say you're a hobbyist or something. Maybe you're into water skiing. You're looking at, oh, hey, I saw this new product. Anyone try this thing? Is this any good? And you've got people chiming in, and it's honest and it's candid, but that can affect, right? That can affect because they don't have experience with that brand, but that is going to weigh and almost kind of become their experience. They're going to lean on the past experience of others around them to determine whether they choose to engage with the brand.
That is like Reddit.
And then once they did, exactly. I love Reddit. I dig. But I love, because that's the thing where even like when if I go to like Google and I'll type in like product review, and then I'll list whatever it is I'm looking at. I like to do a little more shopping around and make sure I'm making a good buy with my money.
Yeah. And I would like to say, a lot of these examples are product based or not like service based. So even in a service business, one of the key things is like in a service business, you need to manage expectations. Is that once you're selling to them, you're doing all that hard work, and then once they kind of start onboarding, you got to start managing those expectations ahead of time, because the service, of course, is intangible, it's invisible. Usually you're selling an idea of some sort until it's manifested or produced. And you have to manage the expectations of not only timeline, but just the overall experience as you're going. So you're almost like the concierge along the way. And, products, or even like a restaurant where you're eating, it's like those are different experiences. But even in a service business, you do have that expectation and experience that have to be managed. Yeah. And kind of like a restaurant is kind of similar in the way that you do have an ongoing experience with someone coming to the table, talking to you, checking on you. And, in a service business, it is similar, where you need to be that kind of that concierge, like being there and checking on them and keeping them up to date with the timeline and everything.
Yeah. And keep in mind too, as you're like, it just made me think of like dealing in a day and age with everything's AI and robotic and everything else. I think, brands that really flex the human factor,
right,
is going to be huge. I mean, everything from calling a number, and then, I don't know how many times it's like I call someone's number because like call us, they have the AI chats and they're like, no, that's not going to work. I need to call customer service.
Operator.
And all you're doing is working through an endless automated, push numbered paths going down before you could ever talk to a human. And it's like, why are you, I think those are the things, like when brands can start doing that, I think that's going to still be a refreshment to us as a culture, as a society.
We've all had those experiences where you're kind of sitting there, whether it is with some insurance company or something that you're stuck with, and they don't care because you're pretty much in a headlock, and you just kind of have that feeling where, oh yeah, I do need to lower my expectations of of the service they're providing, and it's never good from the company side. It's like, you don't want your customers or clients feeling that way. It's like you should always be trying to meet or exceed the expectations, but you do need to at least signal the right expectations and manage them so that you can do that.
Yeah. So I hope you got some meat out of this little time, this episode, as we just talk about, again, a brand signaling the expectations for the customer, and then the business needs to dictate the experience, and that those go hand in hand. And when great expectations are met with great experiences, that is when a great brand is born and takes off. So thanks for checking in, and we look forward to chatting with you next time. So cheers.